Greetings from Western Kentucky University, everyone. My name is Matthew Herman, and I'm honored that you chose me to be the KMTA Commissioned Composer for 2020. I wish that myself and my three performers could be there to premiere the piece in person, but I'm hoping that the concert film that we created of the premiere will, in a small way, give you the sense of a live performance. For all of us, even though we were masked, 10 feet apart, on a gigantic stage with no audience, it was still a wonderful thing to be able to make music again. Before you watch the concert film, I'd like to say a few words about my brand new piece, Appalachian Trilogy. I have lived in Kentucky for the past 10 years, and before that, I lived briefly in Western Virginia. And over that span of time, I have fallen in love with the people, places, and music of Appalachia. When it came time for me to submit my proposal for the commission, I saw it as a golden opportunity to finally pay my respects to Appalachia. In order to prepare for composing Appalachian Trilogy, I did a lot of research. I listened to a lot of Appalachian folk music. I transcribed field recordings of Appalachian people singing and performing their music. And I even transcribed the songs of birds that are commonly found in Appalachia. Taking what I wanted, discarding what I didn't need, I finally came up with a set of songs and music, and yes, bird calls, to produce the piece. The first movement, entitled Ballad, pays homage to the ballad tradition of Appalachia. And this is a tradition that stretches all the way back to Elizabethan England. Songs that are strophic, meaning every verse has the same melody, that tell a story. These songs were passed along through oral tradition, meaning that there's a lot of variety in the words and the melodies. And in the case of this movement, I decided to pay my respects to one of the most famous characters in ballads that come out of England, and that is poor old Sweet William. This is a character that appears in multiple songs, usually a gentleman who is spurned by multiple ladies. The most famous of these is the song Barbara Allen, where he is so sad that he actually dies. And I chose an unconventional tune for this ballad. Most people know the traditional one.
All in the merry month of May, when all things they were blooming, Sweet William came from the western state and courted Barbary Allen. It was all in the month of June, when the green buds they were falling, Sweet William on his deathbed lay, for the love of Barbary Allen.
Well, I chose to discard that one because it's so famous. But there is a really haunting melody for Barbara Allen that I discovered in an old field recording.
'Twas in the merry month of May, the green buds were swelling, young William on his deathbed lay, for the love of Barbary Allen.
Isn't that a wonderful melody? Some people call that scale mountain minor. It's a minor pentatonic, and I think it's just beautiful. The other song I used for the first movement also involves Sweet William, and that's the song Sweet William and Lady Margaret. And that's the one that actually begins the movement. And I found this melody also beautiful and wanted to pay homage to it.
Sweet William arose one May morning, and he dressed himself in blue. We want you to tell us something about that long love between Lady Margaret and you. Well, I know nothing about Miss Lady Margaret's love, and I know that she don't love me. But tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, Lady Margaret, my bride, shall see. But tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, Lady Margaret, my bride, shall see.
Isn't that a nice tune? I decided to start the piece and end the piece with this melody in the original key of the field recording I listened to, E major. I also decided to throw in some unconventional bits to put my own spin on it. You will hear the pianist strumming the interior strings in order to create the sound of an auto harp. And you also get to hear the song of one of my favorite birds, the red-winged blackbird, in the clarinet. And when I transcribed the song of this blackbird, I actually discovered that it sang in E minor. So it was just serendipity that the bird happened to be singing in the minor mode of the key that I'd already chosen to be the home key for this movement. The second movement, Lullaby, makes exclusive use of my favorite Appalachian folk song of all, I Wonder as I Wander.
I wonder as I wander out under the sky, how Jesus, our Savior, did come for to die, for poor ornery people like you and like I wonder as I wander out under the sky.
But I decided for a little added variety and mystery to present that tune in different disguises before I present it in its original state. So I actually begin the movement by playing it backwards. The clarinet plays this into the piano with the damper pedal down. And this creates an echoey, gigantic space. In my mind, it's someone singing a lullaby out in the valley, surrounded by big, gigantic mountains. The next time you hear I Wonder as I Wander, it's upside down, inverted. And what comes out is a lyrical melody. Both of these serve as almost unconscious foreshadowings of the eventual original melody of I Wonder as I Wander. And that is presented at the climax of this movement. After all the deep emotion of the lullaby movement, it's time to kick up our heels and have some fun. And here's where I pay homage to the rich tradition of fiddle tunes coming out of Appalachia. There are polkas and waltzes, there are jigs, and my personal favorite are the reels. These are rapid-fire fiddle tunes in a really fast 4, often in 2 though, with a stream of 16th notes. And in this case, I decided on one tune called Cripple Creek. And what's neat about Cripple Creek is that there is a song version, and there are at least 2 different fiddle tune versions. So I've built a 7-part rondo out of this one tune, Cripple Creek. Here is what the song sounds like.
I got a gal and she loves me. She's as sweet as sweet can be. She's got eyes of baby blue. Makes my gun shoot straight and true. Gone up Crip Creek, gone in a run. Gone up Crip Creek, have a little fun. Gone up Crip Creek, gone in a whirl. Gone up Crip Creek, find my girl.
It's a wonderful song. That forms the refrain of the rondo. And then we have the fiddle tune coming in at the B sections. And by memory, I only remember one of them, so please forgive me, but let me give this a whirl here. When I composed this movement and gave it to my performers, the violinist wrote to me and said, "Can the tempo be faster?" And I quizzically wrote back and said, "Do you really want it to be faster?" But violinists and fiddlers are just so used to playing reels at rapid-fire tempos that it was actually easier for him to play this fiddle tune at what, in my mind, was a breakneck speed. But fortunately, the pianist and the clarinetist were also able to speed it up, and I've since changed the tempo on the score because it sounds so good. Now, every rondo needs a bridge or C section, and in this case, I decided to have a guest appearance once again by I Wonder As I Wander, but this time it's been morphed into quadruple meter. So there you have it, ballad, lullaby, and reel, the 3 movements of Appalachian Trilogy. I'd like to give a special thank you to my performers who had to give the premiere with absolutely no audience, and that is Dr. Peter Povey from the University of the South, Dr. John Sapola from Western Kentucky University, and Dr. Zachary Lopes from Western Kentucky University. I would also like to thank the incredible expert in both audio and video production, Jeffrey Smith, also from Western Kentucky University. Everyone, I really hope you enjoy the world premiere of Appalachian Trilogy.